Welcome back to PipeCast. This is another filler episode, or first impression, last review. Today we're going to be looking at HH Pure Virginia, which is a flake tobacco that Patrick's going to discuss a little bit more.
Yes. So McBaren's HH Pure Virginia is a straight Virginia blend. It's hot pressed, and here, why don't I stop telling you about it and just show it to you?
Here we can see the HH Pure Virginia flake. All these McBaren flakes are put together really nicely. They're super symmetrical and beautiful. It's only going to be composed of Virginia, and displaying here we have Red Virginia and Bright Virginia. You can see in here that a lot of the makeup of the tobacco is very, very dark. You can see these dark ridges running along here with little splashes of bright, lighter color, which would probably, in my opinion, be that Bright Virginia. Some of the dark coloration actually might be, part of the process. So if it's heat pressed or steam pressed, it actually might darken up that leaf. I know flue cured has a darkening effect to some Virginia when they're steamed, and I'm sure any type of heat treatment might create these darker striations throughout the flake. The interesting thing about that flake is that most flakes from McBaren are pretty uniform.
Yeah.
They're really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever have any of the German flakes or any of the Scandinavian tobacco group flakes be anything but just picture perfect.
Yeah, definitely. Just little sticks of gum, and they're when you compare it to like full Virginia flake, and it looks like it's been beat over with an ugly stick.
Because like Galwith seems to have like a more rustic style.
Yeah. Now I do like Dunhill Flake's cut. It's more square, similar to Regent's Flake.
It's like modernism versus like industrial era.
Yeah.
But if you look at some videos online, there are some Galwith and Hogarth production videos, and you can see some of the equipment they use and why maybe some of those flakes come out a little bit more, I don't want to say sloppy, because they're perfect flakes to me, but they're long and, it does look like they're a little bit more tattered. It looks like the equipment has seen some years, which clearly it has, I think. I think Galwith and Hogarth has been around well over a couple of 100 years.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, HH Pure Virginia, I'll be doing the first impression. I've never had this before. Yeah, all I've done is sort of skimmed over the description that you can get on tobacco reviews. As I've said previously, I have a weird history with Virginia flake, or Virginia, straight Virginia in general. It usually creates quite a lot of tongue bite for me. I don't know if like my tongue has changed or if things have developed differently as of, I guess a couple of years ago, but I have smoked full Virginia flake, and I've smoked this today. And when I say a tongue bite, I mean it's almost immediate. I can usually taste it. It's not like something where I have to puff on it for a long period of time. Usually a Virginia almost instantaneously creates a so I know that I'm going to have problems like later on. But it just hasn't been happening. I don't know why that is. Usually anything paired with Latakia or Perique or something like that cleans up my palate, and I don't really have a problem. But straight Virginia, it's just always been just a problem. But with this is an interesting Virginia. It's very sweet. I think all Virginias are light and nuanced, and requires quite a bit of slow puffing to kind of get the kind of the roundedness of the whole blend, because most blenders are going to try to make everything uniform and nice, but it's not always readily available to the consumer or evident to the smoker whether or not that the Virginia flake is the tasting components are there, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So with this, like I said, slow puffing, easy draw. It's very sweet, light, citrusy, has some grass notes. Not as strong grass notes as I think, more so on the dark fruit side of things, which means there's probably a little bit more red Virginia in it than what I'm used to smoking. I feel like Orlick and Golden Sliced which are Perique blends, they do have a sense. Well, they'll have some of the peppery in there, but they have a more pronounced grassy, citrusy flavor to them. Full Virginia Flake also has a very citrusy, grassy, much more grassy, in my opinion. It is light. I think it's probably one of the better ones. And if you're, I mean, if you take it pretty slow, I think the dark fruit does like develop throughout the bowl, which is a little bit different for what I'm smoking here. But I mean, like, I think that the dark fruit and the sweet kind of plum raisin taste of this Virginia is something you're going to pick up on right out of the right out of the box. Now this is Patrick's. Is this a fresh opening? Because you've gone through a 10 before, haven't you?
No, this is the 110 that I bought. So
it was a touch dry, but I think perfect. So you probably will want to dry this out. With Full Virginia Flake, I recommend drying it out almost instantaneously. With this, like, you know, if it's pretty similar to the way it came out of the box, 5 minutes on a paper towel and then just fold stuff.
Now, I may have left it in the tin a little bit longer because I was so used to. I had just come off the heels of Full Virginia Flake and Dunhill Flake, and I just had gotten used to cracking the tin, leaving it in there for maybe a couple of days, and then tinning it up, or jarring it up.
Which that does take off like a huge portion of moisture. I've got tobaccos that I've just left in the tin. They're all Galworth and Hogarth, and as long as the house or the place that you are stashing them in are sort of room temperature or moderate climate, they don't dry out, even in the tin. And I think that's a testament to how wet they are. A lot of the Lakeland tend to be like the perfect moisture as long as I just smoke them throughout in the tin. Now I've got some that are kicking inside a jar and they're fine, but they really do maintain that moisture content. Even after a year, I opened up St. James Flake the other day and it's still moist. And that's 2 years old.
Gee. I've been smoking on Virginias for the better part of, I don't know, 2 months maybe. Started with Full Virginia Flake, went to Peterson Dunhill Flake, and then wrapped up with McBaren HH Pure Virginia. And this is pretty funny because this is just going to be a constant thing. This is your first impression, and you're probably going to give more insight than I'm going to give. So the biggest thing for me, again, looking at my reference points of starting with Samuel Galworth, Full Virginia, and then moving on to this, it feels, I don't know, it feels meatier than Dunhill Flake. It's very, to me, it's very similar to Full Virginia Flake, except Full Virginia Flake maybe has some kind of topping that I'm not aware of, or something different's happening to where I think Full Virginia Flake's a little bit sweeter, at least to me. This one just seems pretty, and it could be because it is a little drier. Maybe for me and my palate, it would have served better to smoke it right out of the tin. But it seems very heavy to me. Again, a lot like Full Virginia Flake in the heaviness. Again, more toasty notes. I still find myself searching for the hay and the grass in these Virginia blends. They're eluding me at the moment.
It's probably because there's not as much bright maybe in these blends than red or something like that. Which might change up the whole, because red always seems like more fermented, a little darker, a little bit more robust, plum, raisiny, etc. Granted, it's a first review for me, so I'm not 100% sure if all my stuff's going to be on the mark. But that's the idea. It's like, what is the light up? What are your impressions? Just short of just smoking and just kind of going at it. Most of the time, because I'm still sort of top midland through the bowl, things do change up like your last third. and I'm not even there yet. So
Yeah.
not even relatively halfway through the bowl. It hasn't lost the original flavors that I had already described. You know, it's still sweet, more on the plum raisin side. Kind of has like a little bit of a fermentation, but nothing too crazy. It's still very good.
Yeah. You mentioned talking about not having as many brights. I wonder if Peterson Dunhill Flake has more brights, because that's the biggest thing I can. Again, just looking at the three straight Virginias that I have been sort of working into my rotation the last 2 months. Dunhill Flake definitely separates itself from HH Pure Virginia and Full Virginia Flake, because it just seems like a brighter. It's got more going on. It's a lighter smoke. Not light as in it doesn't have any body to it. It still has just as much body, I think, as this blend and Full Virginia Flake. But it seems lighter and more summery, I guess. And that might be why I've been gravitating to these Virginias, and why I've been liking them so much, is because they feel full body to me. Now I do like Dunhill Peterson Flake, which that's the one I'm settled on as being my rotational blend. But I think HH Pure Virginia is, a close second, just because Full Virginia Flake is hard to acquire sometimes. But I mean, I'm probably the similar location in the bowl, which all I did was I just took one flake and did a fold and stuff. I normally would do 2 flakes and fold and stuff. But
these aren't the largest flakes in the world either.
No. Yeah, I mean, they're a little bit shorter, right, compared to Full Virginia Flake. But they're not as wide as Peterson.
But I truly don't think the cut's going to make that much of a difference.
Now, did you fold and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty much how I always do it. There's 2 methods for folded stuffing for me. I guess there's really only one method. So I fold it in half and then try to quarter it, and then I fold it over itself, and then I twist it into the bowl. And that's how I do it. Okay. Otherwise, it depends on the moisture content and consistency. There's 2 other ways I kind of mess with a flake, and that's to tear it long ways, sort of like stripping it out. And then I take those and sort of crumble, and then roll, and then stuff. Okay. And then the other way is that I just try, if it's really kind of dryish, I'll just crumple the whole thing in my hand and then rub it out kind of into the bowl. Because it crumples really easily. But most of the time, I end up just folding stuffing. I think that's the best method to do it.
And I tried folding stuff and rubbing out with this blend, and again, it could be that I probably let it get a little too dry, but folding stuff is definitely better for this blend than rubbing out for me. Now, for Virginia Flake, Peterson Flake, rubbed out, had a great time with. And normally rubbing out is my preferred method. I like getting flakes because you have that option. What did you say? The flakes are the Swiss Army knife of tobacco?
It's the Swiss Army knife of tobacco. They're very dependable. They're consistent. They're easy to carry. In other words, if you open up a flake and you have a bag of flakes, right, and you drop them, pick them up, no big deal. But if you drop a ribbon cut or cube cut or any type of cut, really, shag, especially shag, it's everywhere. And you're not going to get it back, really. The stuff you've lost, especially if you drop it in the yard or something like that. But with a flake, it's just nice. I think flakes are more versatile than plug.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, plug that... Look, there's nothing wrong. Anybody who got into pipe smoking sort of likes the... all the accoutrement, all the kind of ritual that comes with smoking. So there's nothing wrong if part of your ritual is plug. But that's a little bit too much ritual for me. The tobacco should be the most effortless part. I like kind of the cadence of smoking, and I like the process of lighting, tamping, and then true lighting. But outside of that, I don't need to to fuss over tobacco. So I usually have it prepped up beforehand, or in the case of a flake, it pretty much is the easiest way to smoke tobacco.
Yeah.
You know, I have different. I've used so many different stuffing or filling methods that I just sort of picked up on the ones that I like the most. There's pieces from like a reverse gravity that I hold on to. There's pieces from the Frank method, the 3-pinch method. I have my own thing that I've picked up over the years. And every one of them's a little bit different. But like in terms of the fold and stuff is my preferred, with a little bit of like the Frank's method to check basically my draw and how I get all the tobacco inside the bowl.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, and I will say this. I have noticed, I never put any thought to it before, but the shape of the pipe definitely does affect the blend for me. I've been rotating, different pipes to try to see which ones smoke certain blends better. And this bent brandy doesn't seem to fail on any blend really, any type.
You think it's because it has like more of a conical shape to the top of it as opposed to the base?
Well, see, you would think that.
You would think that, but also isn't the bowl the same size? See, that's what I never understood. People would talk about shape and smoking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the mortise hole, or I think it's the mortise hole, or the bowl hole here, should be the same pretty much all the way down. It's not going to have. It usually doesn't taper.
Well, I will say the one pipe that I do have that tapers ever so slightly, that bent Dublin, that B10 shape. It doesn't like Virginias for some reason, and I think it's because it does slightly get a little bit smaller when it gets down to the end. But the Labatt, the two bent billiards, the straight billiard, this one, Virginia works perfect in them.
Do you find that the taller the bowl, the more I'm going to say convenient it is to smoke a flake? A lot of people tend to have what I call like stove pipe pipes. Then they that like kind of long barrel really does sort of, it makes the flake smoke a lot more consistent. That's what I've always heard.
You might be right. In reference to just flake straight Virginias, it seems to me that there needs to be a pretty wide bowl too.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be pretty wide, and it needs to be pretty tall. That tankard that I have, it's a pretty small little guy. It's real skinny, but it's real tall. It doesn't like the flake.
Interesting. I know that it's usually better, in my opinion, to smoke pure Virginia, any type of pure Virginia, in a corncob or meerschaum, because I feel like the tobacco is pretty delicate. Also, with whatever has always gone on with me and my tongue bite with Virginia, it seems like the meerschaum or the corncob would tame the tobacco a little bit more. I don't know what the property or principle of that is, but I've had more luck using those. It's kind of funny because I'm smoking in a briar, so clearly all my problems have kind of gone away. But
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, but
how is that?
It's good. It's good. I'm
like
not having any
getting
issues.
Okay.
It's just pretty peculiar, but
you didn't have any issues. A few weeks ago we smoked.
No, so it's like it's gone away. Maybe I just had some sort of weird aversion to it for a year or two or three. And on return, it just seems like it's gone away. I usually won't even. I haven't touched Virginia in a long, long time because of that.
Have you changed your diet in any way?
No, I don't think so. I have probably eaten less spicy food over the years than I used to, and I probably don't take in as much just like orange juice or fruit with like high acidity.
Yeah.
As I used to, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not a particularly great eater, and by that I mean I can just about eat anything. If you sit in front of me, I'll eat it. So refined sugar, high fructose corn syrup, on refined sugar, like, I'll eat it.
Well, yeah, I really like, HH Pure Virginia. Again, it to me, it's very similar to Full Virginia Flake, where I'm at in my pipe smoking journey. You probably pick up the differences with it enough to where.
I think on a first impression, there's enough difference in this bowl compared to Full Virginia that I would recommend Full Virginia. Because Full Virginia Flake isn't readily available, I think that this is a really good Virginia. And it's not one of those things where I'm saying that because of the lack of availability. I don't think deeming something worthwhile because it lacks availability um, is a good process. But Full Virginia does have. It feels like the tobaccos have a higher quality than this,
Okay.
just slightly. And then I also think that it does the Full Virginia just seems like it's a much more easier tobacco to tame than this.
Gotcha.
Granted, that's a first impression and just sort of something I've smoked, comparing it to something I've smoked for a while.
And the thing about it too, I don't know what the latest is in the FDA business, but this blend may not be there for after a while. I mean, I think it'll still make it because McBaren's big, but that's always something to look out for. Is that if you get you a 10 and you like it, maybe stock up on it. I don't know.
I think McBaren's is pretty available though.
Oh yeah, it's super available. You can get it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in the coming years, will it continue to be that way?
And if you like Virginia, this is the way to go because it's really good.
Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed this edition of First Impression Last Review. We hope to continue to put more of them out. So come back and join us.
Thank you.